reptiles in captivity, their enclosure is more or less their entire world, so at least in my opinion, it's important to make sure that it is as exciting and enriching and, in most cases, as naturalistic as possible. Otherwise, what is the point of having a reptile in captivity? I'm getting ready to start a series where I remodel just about all of my reptile enclosures to make them bioactive in most cases, but in every instance, as great as they can be. Like I said, that's the whole point of reptile keeping. Making sure that the reptiles that we're caring for are living the best life possible, so we want to make their world awesome. The first enclosure that I'm going to be working on in this series is my Gargoyle Gecko's enclosure, who you all haven't really met on the channel. I got Onyx the Gargoyle Gecko at the North American Reptile Breeders Conference in Schaumburg, Illinois this previous summer. So we were over at the Pangea booth and I was like looking and stuff, and I'm a Pangea affiliate. I was just talking with their general manager and he's like, are you looking at any geckos? And I pointed out this one and he just gave it to me. So behind me I have a brand new Exo Terra. It's the small tall, which is 18 by 18 by 36 inches, so he'll have plenty of room to jump around and climb and explore and have a bioactive enclosure, which I am really excited about. Now, when my friends at Pangea Reptile heard that I was making this series, they asked if they could send me this box back here full of stuff, as well as some Isopods and some Springtails to help me out with it, and so that I could share their products with all of you. So I'm gonna unbox this box here. It's already opened because I wanted to make sure that there wasn't like a packing slip with my address or anything, but I haven't looked through all the products yet, so I'm excited. I'm just gonna briefly show you what all of these items are, and then I'm gonna talk more in depth about them as I'm putting them in the enclosure. First, it looks like we have, this Pangea branded bag of goodies. It has some gecko diet in it. We have it's a Patient Zero t-shirt with the Pangea logo on the back. Thank you. I met Patient Zero this summer when I was at Schaumburg, so that's fun. Now moving on to actual supplies. We have sphagnum moss. We have aqua balls, which are basically LECA, which stands for lightweight expandable clay aggregate. There we go. So this is a drainage layer. We'll talk more about it when we get to it. Ooh, we have this vine. I have one of these in my White's Tree Frogs enclosure. They love it, I love it. We have some seed pods and some nut pods. Some leaf litter, more leaf litter. ABG mix, which is the substrate that we're gonna be using. I love this stuff. More ABG mix. I've never used the Pangea ABG mix before, so I'm excited to try it. Drainage mesh, that's important. Cork. I bet you can guess what this next item is. More cork. That's good stuff right there. That's gold in the reptile industry. Cork. This next item is not cork. It is grapevine, like sandblasted grapevine. Oh, I know exactly how I'm gonna use this. And some Pangea merch goodies. A Patient Zero pin. Sticker. Oop, you can't see it. Sticker. Sticker. I like it. Sticker. This one's funny. I like it. Okay. Now the final item. I'm very excited about this. You can kind of see it, so I'm covering it. This is a new item that Pangea is launching right around the time that this video goes live, so like I'm one of the first people to test it out and get to share it with you. It is this here cork background. This is so cool. I can just imagine how plants are gonna trail up this. It's gonna look so naturalistic. I'm so excited about this. Now let's actually start building the enclosure, because that's what you're here to watch. This Exo Terra here is gonna serve as the actual enclosure, so it is kind of an important piece. So let's unbox it. The first thing I'm gonna do is take off the top and take out this background because we are not gonna be using it. These, old Exo Terra backgrounds are iconic, everyone has them, but they're also kind of boring. I'm excited to switch it up. We have, like I said, this Cork background here. The release date for this will be on the screen. I don't have it yet, but it will be released very, very soon, and I'm really excited about it. Now, one of the cool things about this partnership that I have with Pangea is that my viewers can save 10% on just about any item on their site, including geckos, with the code HUNTER10. It's valid for one purchase, so make sure that you don't forget to use it. I'm really excited about it, and you guys can save some money just because you watch my videos. Wow, that is really, really cool. Look at this. The next product that we're using are these Pangea aqua balls, which are basically used as the drainage layer. So what the heck is a drainage layer? In a bioactive enclosure, you have your drainage layer, drainage mesh, then you have your substrate, and then you have your plants, and plants obviously need water, and that water has to have somewhere to go so it doesn't get waterlogged. And the drainage layer is where that water goes. These balls go at the bottom of the enclosure so that there is room for the water to go through the soil down into the bottom. That way they're not making your enclosure too soggy and gross, but it also helps hold the humidity in your enclosure. Now that those are nice and smooth, we're going to put in the drainage mesh. It's lined up there now, so it will have a little bit of overlap with the sides and the front and the back, so that when we put in our substrate, it'll sit on top and shouldn't go down into the drainage mesh, because that defeats the whole purpose. Now we're gonna add this ABG mix, which, like, what the heck is ABG mix, you're probably asking? It is a precise blend of tree fern fiber, charcoal, sphagnum moss, peat moss, and fir bark, which basically its job is to create a nutritious soil for your plants to grow in and for your microfauna to be able to complete the soil cycle, if that makes any sense. It does a great job in tropical environments because it, like, as you can see here, it's a pretty tropical substrate. It's got a lot of things that are great at maintaining moisture, so I think it'll work very well in this setup. I wish you could smell this when you open a fresh bag of ABG mix, or really any, like, reptile soil for that matter. It smells so good. The way it smells, like, right after it's rained, I love it. Time for bag 2. Okay, exciting. We have the drainage layer in, the drainage mesh in, and the ABG mix substrate in here, which is where we're gonna leave off today because now it's time to add plants, and I don't have the plants yet. Okay, I've got plants, which means I can put the plants in the enclosure, but before I do that, there's one step that I have to complete. As you can see, a lot of these are in nursery pots from a plant store, which means that they were grown using conventional methods. So they have fertilizers in here, which is great for growing plants, but it's not safe for growing isopods or reptiles. So we have to get them down to bare root, the ones that I'm using that were from a plant store, so that they can be actually reptile safe. So we're gonna go to an industrial sink so that we can wash all those fertilizers and all that soil off of them, and then we'll put them in the enclosure. And there's some in here that are either already bare root or that were grown by a reptile plant company, so they're already safe to go. You'll hear lots of methods that people use to clean off the soil from their plants to make sure they're safe to use in their vivariums, but what I'm doing is simply getting as much soil off as I can with my hands and then washing them with pretty warm water, not quite hot, but pretty warm water, so that it washes away all of those fertilizers to make sure that they're nice and safe for those, most importantly, isopods and springtails, but also my reptile, because in case he gets down to those roots, I want to make sure that he's not exposed to that either. I should mention that I probably wouldn't recommend doing this in a sink. It was freezing cold outside the day that I had to do this so that I could get this video done in time, but otherwise I would recommend doing it outside with a hose instead. One thing that I've started doing in all of my terrariums is adding a BioShot from the Biodude into the soil and mixing it all in there before I add my plants. This, you can read about it on their website. I'll link it in the description, and you can use Hunter10 for 10% off of that as well. But basically it jumpstarts the beneficial bacteria in your soil so that it can start breaking down waste and completing the soil cycle really efficiently. Next, I'm adding some dechlorinated water to the soil so that we have a good starting place when we begin to add plants. Remember when I said that Cork was like gold in the reptile world? Well, onyx is going to be rich because we're using a lot of Cork in this enclosure. At the same time as adding plants, I like to do the hardscape, which is kind of an unpopular thing to do at the same time, but I like it because I can move plants and hardscape, which is wood in this case, but sometimes rocks and other natural materials, and make sure that they look good together. As you'll notice, while I'm creating this enclosure, I move things around a lot. I like to try a lot of different places and combinations of objects until I find something that looks natural, but that I know will also be functional. The first plant that I chose to put in this enclosure was a Heartleaf Philodendron, which actually turned out to be several plants when I took it out of the pot, which was definitely a pleasant surprise. I chose this one because it, as you can see, is a vining plant, and I wanted something that could climb up the background and climb up the cork. This next plant is this beautiful variegated Dracaena fragrans, which is pretty small right now, but I'm really excited about because it should grow to be very tall, especially in an environment like this. I've seen them in crested geckos often where the gecko will sleep in between the leaves, so I'm hoping once it's a little bigger, onyx will do the same. That would be super cute. Next up we have this huge bushy Syngonium podophyllum, which I say this about every plant, but I'm very excited about it too. That's why I chose it. It turned out to be a couple plants as well, which was another exciting surprise, so I could split it into a couple pieces and spread it out throughout the enclosure. I was a little worried it would be too flimsy for onyx to walk on, but that's proven not to be the case, so I'm glad about that. Next, I had a bit of a wild idea, which I'm still not sure whether or not it will be a success long term, but so far so good. I decided I wanted to put part of this Syngonium up into a piece of cork so that it could grow. I don't know that they're necessarily epiphytes like that, but I think that if I fill it with soil like you're seeing in this clip, it should work long term, and if not, it was worth the shot. Beautiful plant after beautiful plant. This is a Scindapsus pictus, and I don't even know what to say about her other than she is gorgeous. This next plant is a Peperomia obtusifolia, which I'm really excited about. It's a really pretty cultivar. I don't know what the cultivar is, so if you're better with plants than I am, comment down below, but this is a small but mighty plant that should grow in no time. That marks the end of planting, which means it is vine time. This vine is super cool because it looks really naturalistic, but honestly my favorite part about it is those little twigs and branches, or whatever those are called, that come off of it. They are bendable and posable, so you can use them to hook onto other things so that the vine is extra stable. As you can see, I spent way too much time trying to perfect the way that this was shaped, but I wanted it to be just right. As you can see, we are so close to done, but I wanted something to give us a finishing touch, and I think this cork ground was just what we needed. Finally, scaping is done, which means it's time for biodegradables. This is leaf little, because it's little leaf litter, get it? Leaf litter is there to break down in the soil to provide food for isopods and springtails, and it's also a place where springtails can go to breed. Next we have full-sized leaf litter, which does the same thing as small leaf litter, it's just bigger. Sphagnum moss not only looks cool, but it helps retain humidity in your enclosure and your soil, which is very important. Give it a good mist so it can start to do its job right away. Next up are seed pods and nut pods. They're really cool, and sometimes they rattle, but unfortunately you couldn't hear it on camera. I don't know that seed pods and nut pods necessarily serve a purpose aside from just extra enrichment, but enrichment is really important, so I'll take them. Next up we have our first inhabitants, which are not gargoyle geckos. These are approximately 10 little Armadillidium maculatum, aka zebra isopods. They're the star of the show that is Cleanup Crew. They're really pretty. Assuming the conditions are right and that Onyx the gecko doesn't eat them all, soon we should have a little zebra isopod colony starting in this enclosure. That's really cool how bioactive enclosures can have not just the primary inhabitant, which is your pet, but your gecko can have kind of its own pets, except they eat its poop. Joining us in this enclosure next, we have temperate springtails. If you're unfamiliar with springtails, they are cool little arthropods that, hence the name, can kind of spring from their tail. They are those little white things moving around in there. They are very small. Basically, their job is to assist the isopods with cleaning up any extra organic waste in the substrate. Okay, it's been a while and the plants have had time to settle in, and so have the isopods. Oh, you can hear the white tree frogs croaking in the background. Okay, the frogs have calmed down. It's been a while since the plants and isopods went in there, so there's enough time for them to have established themselves, which means Onyx can move in now. And that's something that I'm so excited about. But before he goes in, there are a couple of things I want to talk about, and I'll hold him up here so you can watch him instead of me while we're talking about them, because he's a lot more entertaining to watch than I am. First, I want to talk lighting, because those are two very important things. For Onyx's enclosure, the lighting that I'm using is an Arcadia Shade Dweller for UVB, which is measured, or has been measured by my solar meter. I will put on the screen what my target UV index was for him that I moved things around to make sure that his basking spot matched. And the plant light is a Biodude grow light. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but that's on the screen as well. If you want to get your grow light from the Biodude, you can use code HUNTER10 for 10% off of that as well. Onyx is eyeballing his new enclosure. I think he's excited about it. Okay, one more thing that we have to discuss is the lack of a heat bulb. My room where the reptiles are gets very warm, like we're talking high 70s. So underneath his lights, it's like 75-ish usually, which is kind of what the recommended basking spot is for gargoyle geckos. However, if like in the winter or something, should the temperature get down to where it's like 70 degrees, I'll probably get a very, very low wattage heat bulb and put it there so that he has that basking spot of 75 to 78 degrees. He is so cute. Oh my gosh, I just love gargoyle geckos. Their eyes are just so absolutely beautiful. They're my favorite Rhacodactylus species for sure. Probably gecko species in general. Other than leopard geckos, I'm always loyal to leopard geckos. The final thing that is missing is a food and water receptacle. Pangea just released this new product, which is a magnet food holder. So it has your water dish in here and your food dish in here. It comes with plastic ones, but you can actually get silicone ones, which are dishwasher safe. They're great for the environment. And reptile keeping is often a high waste hobby. We go through a lot of supplies that are one use only, unfortunately. So anything we can do to make it more eco-friendly, I'm all for it. So this is great. It saves you money and it helps the planet. So I'll have this linked in the shopping list as well. On the back, you can see it has 3 very high strength... He jumped again. Okay. On the back, you can see it has 3 very high strength magnets and a little rubber thing, so your gecko can put its full body weight on it. I would say even a Leachianus gecko could put its full body weight on there and not have to worry about it sliding down the glass or falling or anything like that. These are really, really strong magnets. Okay, I'm gonna put that in the enclosure and then you get to watch Onyx explore it. I'm so excited about this enclosure. I just am seriously so happy with how it turned out. I hope you all enjoyed the montage of Onyx enjoying his new enclosure. I am sure he is gonna absolutely love it, and I'm so excited to be able to watch him grow in this enclosure. Be sure to check out the shopping list in the description and use code HUNTER10 for 10% off at Pangea. My name is Hunter Hauk. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, be sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications because I have a lot of really exciting videos coming up, including a vlog at the largest reptile expo in North America coming up next.